So welcome everybody to the April 2026 meeting of Wildfire Safety Advocates here in Waikōloa Village on Hawaii Island. I see some new faces and some old faces, so thanks everyone for coming and joining. We have a variety of things we want to talk about this month. Both follow up on things from previously and Bob and our experience yesterday with testimony at the general plan. So I think we should just get going straight into that, the new thing. Yesterday, Bob and I went down to Kona to testify in front of the county council committee on planning and I don't know what all of the acronym is.
Land use.
Was it and land use committee? And it was the first real reading of the 2045 general plan. A councilwoman from Hilo, actually Kirkowitz, made a significant number of adjustments to it. We've been talking about this for a year, but they are trying to push it through and get it done by the end of the summer, I think is what their goal is, as soon as possible, really, is my read on the matter. And we are testifying that we want more teeth in the CDP process. And Bob has some specific details about how to do that. But it was an interesting testimony and an interesting time to be there. So yeah, we want to go on about it, Bob.
Yeah, we only had short notice of this event and the availability of the Kirkwood's draft of the general plan. Kirkwood's draft is pages, many tens of pages shorter. It simplifies the process quite a bit. It came under a lot of criticism exactly for that reason. But our concern was the fact that the planning process has never worked for this community. You know, we worked really hard. The people who were here after the 2005 fire worked really hard to develop the community development plan for the village, which included a requirement that or an intention to create a second road access to the village. And that it was identified as needed both to accommodate the growth that was planned for the village, but also to protect the safety and health of our residents by giving us a way to escape fires. So the 2005 fire had awakened everybody to fire risk. And that was spelled out clearly in the 2008 CDP. And the general plan in chapter 6, which is the implementation section of the 2005, says that the objectives and the policies are spelled out in the general document, but that they are to be implemented through the CDP process. So the CDP is supposed to take the objectives and the policies and turn them into recommended actions that actually implement the policies. And one of the policies in the general plan was that every community should have at least 2 routes of access, which is entirely consistent with our objective here. And so our CDP adopted in 2008 implemented that by spelling out a route that would follow Kamakoi Gulch down from Paneola Drive to Pinkhead. But here we are 18 years later, and none of that is new. So we pointed that out to the council in our testimony yesterday. That was Matt spent some time focused on that history, why we think the whole process is broken. And what I laid out were 3 proposals that we would like to see added to the process. One is to say that the community development plans should prioritize the needs of the community and spell out the actions that the community wants in a priority setting. So that we all know that the budget is limited, that the universe of money is not available for everything that we want. And the mayor told us last month in our phone call that the second road was just a wish list.
And in the letter, not just in the phone call, he wrote that
and
down.
in the letter, yeah, that it was just a wish list. And that's how the planning process treated. that it's not just an expression of community interest, but that it's just a wish list, it can be ignored. And so, in our case, we've actually called it out as a priority. It was identified as, quote, a very high priority for this community. So some other CDPs don't have priorities set out, we did. But what I'm asking the council to do is to say that every plan should identify the priorities for that community. And that gives guidance to the staff of all the county departments as to what we want and in what order. And it also gives guidance to the council as to what we think is important for our community. And if for the planning process to work, there has to be some prioritization. And so that's critical, the first step. Second step is that these community development plans have to be adopted by council as an ordinance. And what we asked for was that projects or actions identified as priorities by the community in their plan must be costed out by staff when the plan is submitted to the council. So that when the council gets a plan, it sees in the plan, or at least attached to it from staff, an estimate of what the various projects in that plan are going to cost the budget. And of course, that's not the point at which the budget gets chosen, but it becomes a credible basis for arguing, this is the amount of money we need, this is how it needs to be factored. And then the third step is one that says every budget cycle, every annual budget cycle must identify the first priority from every CDP and include it in the budget. Now, that budget includes both an annual element, which is the money that will be spent in the next 12 months, and a 6-year element, which is the money that's expected to be allocated to annual budgets through that 6-year period. So it doesn't actually commit the council to years 2 through 5 or 6, what's going to be spent in those years, but at least it is a budget planning mechanism for recognizing what projects are expected to be in the budget and what their cost will be. So what that does, among other things, is give some real credibility to the planning process. Because if a community goes through the process of saying, here's our priorities, and here's our first priority, then they know that's going to be addressed in the budget process. It doesn't tell them it will be in next year's budget, but it does require that the mayor include those projects in his budget in some way, either the annual element or the 6-year element. And that it would spell out the timing of the money needed to complete that action. So it might be a small item that can get funded in one annual element. It might be a big project like a road that might get funded over 5 years, not a 1-year project. But at least the mayor would be directed through this ordinance to account for the decisions that have been made by communities and to address their priorities. So that's what we asked in the testimony yesterday. And we'll see what comes of that. But we've already discussed this concept with our councilman, James, 2 weeks ago. So we wanted to make sure that if we brought this forward and proposed it, that he would be behind us. I didn't want to propose something that would put him on the spot, that would make him feel uncomfortable. And he said these were concepts that he felt comfortable with. was his words to us. So we're hoping that he will advocate for this, and we'll have to watch the council meetings coming up to see how this progresses. But it's what we're proposing, and it's part of the planning process, so it's not going to play out in this year's budget. It's something that would be part of the final adoption of the general plan. That could be months away. And so the other thing that I brought for discussion today, when we're ready for it, is what our testimony is going to be on this year's.
Yeah, and that's starting next week. The one thing I want to add to that whole thing is just for full clarity, in case anyone got lost in that. We said CDP a lot of times. CDPs are community development plans that there are 9 communities, different districts throughout the island, and not all of the communities or districts have CDPs. For example, there is not currently one from Hilo, and that is a known identified problem. Those communities have been told by the planning department that they cannot get a new one until the general plan is adopted. And we do have a CDP, but it has been around for decades, and the priorities identified in there have not come to fruition. So the last one was issued in 2008, but they have regular meetings. The last one I think was in this room a couple weeks ago. So that is a thing that happened. Was that
Last week.
last week? Last week was the action plan meeting. There we go. And to be really clear, I was really directed a lot, really, when we were starting this whole venture 3 years ago, to go join the CDP. And I declined. I declined to do it because I noticed that it had no teeth, that they had said that this needs to be high priority 20 years ago and nothing has happened. So I didn't think that that would be an effective use of my time or our community's efforts. But we want it to be. We want the CDPs to be valuable, and to have, you know, the communities to have a say in what happens in their backyards with their money. So that's sort of what we were all getting at. And we were not the only ones that brought this up during the testimony. There were people in Hilo and people on Zoom that all were saying similar things. They weren't saying it as explicitly as we did, but there was a lot of support for CDP empowerment in the general plan. I think the council heard that. Well, I know they heard it.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Did you guys get any indication from council?
We couldn't see body language. So they were all in.
They were at Hilo.
We're all, yeah. So we were,
Well, I might watch the video back and see if I can.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be helpful.
Now, related to this, and something that we've mentioned to James, but we haven't mentioned otherwise publicly. But we're probably gonna put it in our testimony for budget. Is that the county charter has language in it saying that the capital improvement budget has to, quote, be aligned with the general plan and community development. It refers to both the general plan and the city. And at this point, my assessment is that we could bring a lawsuit saying that the county budget has never been aligned with our CDP. And that we would have a good shot at getting a judge to say the budget has failed to carry out the charter mandate. Now, a judge is not going to tell the county council what a proper budget looks like, but he can decide that this budget doesn't do it. So what that would do is create a lot of chaos. And we could potentially block the budget. We could get a judge to block the budget. And so this is not something that is the strategy of choice. This is not something that we're currently planning to do. But it is something that we're going to raise as a potential recourse if the council doesn't fix the process and get funding in place for our road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, all we have is escalation. That's all we can do. And so they need to know what is possible.
yes, what is
Down.
possible and, you know, what we're thinking about,
Yeah.
seriously thinking about.
Yeah.
So the,
Help me understand, so there was a meeting here last week about the CDP for this district. And how are they soliciting these top projects from this community? How are they asking this community what they want to include as the priority?
they're not, that's all in the current plan.
So
So
Yeah,
what,
that was never
So,
implemented,
well,
like in a
the-
new plan.
they're not reaching out to the community writ large, but they are all made up of members of District 9. And
Yeah.
so they know, and some of them are really involved. Julia's on, right? So like she knows what the priorities are and they've been advocating. In the last meeting, the entire topic was what to do about the second road. And what they concluded at the end of it is that they were gonna write a letter to the mayor. And it's like, well, okay, great, guys, like it's been on your official plan for 18 years and you're gonna write another letter. Like we're good at writing letters. We do that a lot. And we'll talk about a new letter that we had just in a few minutes here. But like letters haven't gotten bulldozers down there and, you know, asphalt trucks. So like it
So-
needs to be leveled
So
up.
the content of the new version of the CDP. With, if they have, you know, stakeholders from the community is going to be accurate, right? Like we have a high confidence that the second road would be on it.
The 2008 one's pretty good,
Yeah.
actually, if you read it.
A new CDP, they're just, well,
Well, they will once the general plan gets.
Yeah,
adopted.
this is-
general plan first, yeah.
the action committee has two mandates in the ordinance. One is to develop the initial TEP, and then secondly, to monitor its implementation. So the implementation piece was on the agenda this last meeting.
Yeah.
And specifically the road. And what would they do about it? And they talked about it for an hour and a half and finally came up with the idea that the best they could come up with was a letter to the mayor. And what I'm good, when we finish discussing this testimony that I've outlined for us for the council budget discussion, I'm gonna ask the action committee to join this. I think that could have some weight with council. It's not, I don't think they're gonna carry the day with the mayor. You know, I think we've run that course as far as we can run it.
But we've also seen how, despite it being in a plan, despite this community testifying, despite our councilmen putting an amendment forward to begin engineering for a second road, the mayor still has vetoed any action that this community wants as our number one our number one need, right? So
That's why I put that.
it goes back to, I think we're might go to the same. and-
No.
No,
You
that's,
feel
no,
like we could take-
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's well heard, and that's why Bob has the ordinances, and that's why we like to start to threat a lawsuit, like that's.
Yeah.
That's all we can do at this point. We've done all of the right steps. We went and we got the community together, we organized, we sent letters, we got council to adopt this resolution and give the money to it. But if the mayor doesn't pick it up and if no one's there to force him to, there's not a whole lot of recourse we can have. And
Who
so,
can force the mayor to do something,
Well,
because the community can, this councilman can,
council,
plan can't.
council can adopt this ordinance that we've asked for in our testimonies. An ordinance which would spell out what the mayor has to do in the budget. Council can specify,
And an ordinance is essentially a rule that the mayor has to adhere to, is that,
it's the law.
okay,
It's the law that governs the mayor and the council has authority over the budget. And they can adopt an ordinance spelling out what the budget process must be. And so that's why we're asking for that word. But that's not gonna govern this year's budget.
yeah.
Because that's still gonna take time to play out. So we've come up with another strategy for this year's budget. And last year, you know, our strategy was to get the 2.5 million in the budget. To get the engineering work done for the road so that we would have a firm cost estimate and a design ready to go. Our US representative, Jill Dakota, has asked us for a clear budget because she thinks there may be some federal money she cannot track down, but she needs a clear design for the road and what the budget will be. Ed Sniffen asked us for the same thing when we met with him. He said, I need a clear budget. You know, what is it gonna cost? Where's your design work? And so far, the mayor has been able to bottle that out. So if we want to go on to this.
Yeah, go for it, go for it.
So the strategy I put together here that we need to discuss today, because this is, you know, a fairly significant political message. Is that the funding for the road needs to be coordinated with the funding for any new workforce housing in the community. And we're not opposing the workforce housing. We're not saying the budget should not include the workforce housing money. What we're saying is that we need to protect the new residents who will be housed in workforce housing. And that in order to protect them, there needs to be a second road, and that the funding for the housing and the road must be coordinated in tandem. And so what we've come up with is some language asking the council to put in the appropriation for the workforce housing, language that would say you can only go as far as doing the planning and the design work for the housing. You can't actually start construction until the design work for the road has been completed and contracts for the road have been signed. Then you can go ahead with the workforce housing construction. So it's to make sure that we have in place a process with a budget that spells out when the road will be in place, and to require in this language that the road be in place before the workforce housing can be occupied. So construction can proceed while the road construction is going forward. But until the road is finished and open to traffic, you can't put people in housing.
But there's only one more workforce housing. This in the next decade, right? It's the common core new aid.
Yeah, that's a real big one.
Yeah, that's the 2,200 residents, okay.
Right.
And have they broken ground on this thing?
Well.
Oh, no, they're not at that stage.
No,
Okay.
but they have in this upcoming budget $17 million for the Malca half of the surface streets and the sewer and the electric lines and stuff like that.
Is it 17?
I'm pretty sure it's 17. We'd have to double check.
Okay, well, we can fix that.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're committing in excess of $10 million for roads for the workforce housing, but not to connect it to the Queen K. It is just the surface streets that, you know, connect it to the skate park. And so that's what we want to tie us to.
And the sewers and the water lines.
Yeah.
So that all has to happen before they can actually start construction on the house.
And they have no active plan. They're going to do it in phases. There's like 7 different little boxes inside that big circle that they're gonna put it in. And they're gonna do the mountain half first. Yeah, they have no plans. There are literally no plans from anyone to connect the village to the Queen K from the north end right now. That does not exist. They're out there trying to convince us that this emergency egress route is sufficient and that that's our third road, but like we all know that that's not the go. So. Yeah, I think we should go forward with this. I think it's totally fine as long as we're very, very, very explicit about not opposing the housing outright. But this is about making the families that are moving into those houses safe.
Yes, and I've been very careful with the language. I'm not using any negative language about the workforce. Yeah, we're saying we support it, that it's needed, that we want to make sure that when the families, the young families that are gonna move into that kind of housing are safe.
I think there's also new development that's happening elsewhere in the village that's not on this, right across from the Dry Forest. They're putting up new homes. You guys see that? I saw some framing done.
Yeah, but it doesn't really affect the road issue, because they're out
There's
there.
more people on the road. It's more
Well,
congested, right?
Yeah,
Single density,
it's
yeah.
more people on Waikōloa Road.
Right,
Totally.
trying to get out. and that's the, you know, I just feel like. I understand the angle of the workforce housing, it's strong, you're putting the most vulnerable people at the end. You're hoping that comical annuities.
Well, and I added one more thing to this
Yeah.
at the end, and that is that they cannot issue certificates of occupancy for the non-Akai houses until the road is built.
That'll be, that'll wake some people up. That'll get some phone calls, yeah.
So, it's there.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
we don't know that they've sold homes yet. They are not shown up on the MLS register and they have not shown up on the county tax records yet. The thing that says it's sold homes is their own marketing materials on their website.
Yeah.
And they are unbuilt homes. So if you go look at the map, there are 5 of them that are built and listed on MLS. Those still say that they're owned by Waikōloa land investors, if you go log on and everything. But then it shows the map, there's 2 lots that have frames on them that have not been completed on their website say sold. But then you go to the county tax records, it says that it's still owned by Waikōloa land investors. So they may have sold in some private deal and like, you know, there's some weird LLC thing going on there. But as far as we can tell, from the public's perspective, those houses are all still owned by trust homes, every single one. And
But let's play it out, the devil's advocate of
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
right?
But there's
Let's
only
say that-
26 of them that have been built, and there's
Right.
276 in phase.
But let's say. in
So
next
this
year,
could
20
apply
Yeah.
to everything that's not yet. built.
Okay, but if 26 homes that get sold the next year, right?
Let's assume that.
What the proposal is those people can't move into their homes.
sure,
Wouldn't Charles Summers sue the county then of saying
Yes.
this is a breach of our contract?
yes,
So then why would the county put themselves in that situation?
Well, there's,
Because we know that they don't care
one
about
is
us,
that
or
they,
that they care about.
one is they might just exempt the houses that are already built. That's one option. And if they did that, we wouldn't fight it. Shouldn't say that.
we probably wouldn't fight it.
We probably wouldn't fight it. Because it's not a significant, I mean, those 26 houses when occupied aren't gonna be what breaks the camel's back when it comes to escaping the fire. But the other 270, the remainder of the 276, which is 250 houses, definitely contribute to that. So if this only applied prospectively to houses that haven't been built yet, that would still put an enormous amount of pressure on Summers.
Yeah.
And part of the goal here is to get him to the table saying, okay, I will help get the road.
Yeah,
That's the point.
yeah, we can't force them.
Okay, but he's already told our own HOA that they will
Yeah,
not be
but
building that road.
yes,
You know what I mean, in like the last
Yes.
6 months, right?
right.
So,
So we have to find a way to get him to change his mind.
Yeah, but
yeah,
right, his money.
but I think, okay, sorry,
If he can't-
let's take a step back, because I actually think that the argument that council will push back on us is like, wait, hold on, you guys are getting another Hulu. You're getting a comical annuity in the summer, and the federal government just put $4.5 million to help with that.
Federal
And
government did put $4.5
Or-
million into
No.
that.
the state did.
Sniffing.
Right, so Sniffen put some money up to cut that road, that they're gonna hand off to the county, they're gonna be like, wait, you have another way out, I have 3 ways out of this village in case of emergency.
And
What's our argument?
Yeah.
we have never been advocating for ways out, we have been advocating for a second way in. No, I understand, that's the argument, that's Timo's argument right there. And it's a disingenuous argument, quite frankly, because we are saying we need a second road in, not a third way out.
We all.
Like, that is beneficial and great, we want as many ways out as possible, but that does not answer the thing that we have been very clear and explicit about from the beginning. Because what we need to have happen are those trucks that come from the Puoko fire station to be able to get to the north end of the village. And without a way up that hill, they will not make it to those Nanakai houses if they catch on fire. It's just not
Well,
possible.
there's also 2 distinct reasons for a road. It's not only for emergencies and for fire. We're
Yeah.
also highlighting this 10,000 estimated new people. You just can't have that many people and only a single road for daily use,
Yeah,
regardless.
one
of
traffic light
emergencies.
in and out.
Yeah,
Regardless of fire emergencies, it's just simply if that infrastructure is irresponsible, right? So I think like the argument back is purely from what the community needs
Yeah.
to sustain a growing community.
but the counter argument to that is there are bigger cul-de-sacs in this state
No, they're
that
not.
have more residents.
No, there
Right?
are.
Didn't we just hear that argument?
That is what Kimo said, but that is not.
That's what
true.
that's
That
what the
is-
mayor said,
Okay, so then there we go.
but we have to, yeah, I
No,
don't.
that,
So it's speak to.
even if it's true, those other locations, like down in Puna, I mean, when you get to the end of the road, you're in a situation like that. But that is not a high fire risk community.
They are distributed.
What-
community.
They have a lot of rain, we have a lot of fire risk,
Yeah,
that's the difference.
And I also wanna be mindful of falling into the trap of pitting communities against each other. Oh, you guys aren't the largest cul-de-sac, they are, okay, okay. All of these communities that can be defined as a cul-de-sac have a need for infrastructure. We're not trying to, like, I don't wanna fall for the bait
No,
of being pitted against each other, which is what it felt like the mayor was sort of
yeah,
You're not
doing
first off.
in
There
your
are other people
speech.
who
He's
want
like,
to-
oh, you
Yeah.
guys aren't even the worst. Then I wanna help them too. I want whatever we propose to also help.
instead of solving the problem, is pitting people against one another to
Right.
occupy the time so that the target isn't
Distract.
this. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
And
right.
so I'm not taking that bait at all. Like the concept that Puna needs a second road. They have a state highway connecting them to Hilo. They have the Queen K. He is equating it to us saying that we need a second Queen K to Kona from Waikōloa. That is not true. What we need is another way to get to the state highway now. They have like 20 ways to get to the state highway now because there's so many things that feed into Highway 180 down there.
Yeah.
But it's just not the same, and it's just not a fight that we need to have. And so the other major part that I get complaints all of the time about not fire risk, but construction traffic. All of these trucks going up and down Paniolo and Waikōloa Road, that road wasn't designed to carry, cement trucks every single day up and down the road past the school. And like, they're gonna be building another 1,000 houses using that same road. Those trucks need a shorter, more direct way to get to the north end of the village, and the only way to do that is build a road. So,
but to go back to your earlier point, we know that in 2021, when we couldn't get out of the village, Hulu already existed and it was open that day. So Hulu is not an argument that solves our problem.
Right.
We know that Hulu does not solve our problem. And that adding one more Hulu, one more lane, isn't gonna solve the problem either, when we add all these more residents to the community.
I think.
So
I
that,
agree with
that's
this,
part of
but
it.
I think this is a fabulous strategy. I think what happened.
But let me
last-
finish,
Okay, sorry.
So, what Matt has been working on and I'm getting ready to take on. Is a report extracting from all the data that we've been able to collect from the 2021 evacuation. A report that we can share with council and anybody else, the media and whatever. Saying that the existing road network serving our community is a fire truck. And so that's what we're doing. So
Yeah.
we're pulling together the data to show that. So it's more than an argument. It's actual information showing why the system didn't work.
I was just gonna say that I think the miss that we have had up until this point is we're assuming everyone understands Waikōloa. Right, like,
well, that's why I
And
give people tours, right? That's why I drag them out and
Yeah.
point at us.
like, I remember testifying last year for the 2.5 million and realizing like maybe 3 of them have been to Waikōloa and they don't understand the severity, and I feel like I think we're still having to have that conversation as well, right? Like,
And that's why we have to keep showing up
right, but like,
to make
and
that,
then there's different people that provide that context. It's like,
yeah.
I was here in the evacuation, right, like, and this is.
Yeah, like Dan submitted testimony last year that was really great because he said, I'm a firefighter. you know, I was here in 2021, I saw the risk that the community had, we couldn't get out, and he had pictures.
Unbelievable pictures. He
I mean,
he was spitting more fire than we were. I couldn't believe it.
That was the kind of information that addressed what you're talking about.
Yeah, we can't force people to learn or understand. And I get what you're saying. There's always an argument against it. We want to successfully strawman against it. But I don't want to roll over in the face of defeat just because people are going to say, "Hey, you already have it," right? And like that's not gonna fly. Yeah. Do we want to move on to we mentioned two things here that are the next two business items. Are there any other things you want to talk about on this?
My question about this,
Yeah.
the strategy for the budget.
Yeah.
Is this in a place yet for me to create like a community action testimony instructional page?
Yes, we're gonna finish this up, make whatever refinements we need after tonight. And get it sent out next week, because the council is starting their finance committee hearings on the budget next week. Beginning on 14th. And
So what's
they hold hearings for 4 days in a row all week. And so we're gonna get this in their hands before they start. And then we'll figure out when Public Works and Planning is on their schedule, and we'll go over and testify. But the council action on the budget will be in May. So I'm planning to have this ready for discussion at the seniors meeting, which will be a week from Monday. So it'll be the Monday after all the council committee hearings. And at the last seniors meeting, they asked me if we would draft a petition for them to sign. So at the meeting, they can pass it around and everybody sign. So if you can help with that, I would really appreciate it. That would be ideal. And once we put the petition together, we can find other audiences to share it with. So it's just seniors.
Okay, we can also try to put something in the breeze, and then I could get an email campaign going, something on social media, and then that's where we need everyone's help here to.
And a resolution for the board.
Resolution from the board, something from the CDP would be really helpful.
Yes.
Really powerful.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, I don't know if they meet often enough for us to.
Well, they're
I don't know
writing,
their inner mechanics.
their authorization is to write this letter.
Okay.
That's what they decided at the last meeting.
We gotta help.
So I'll talk to. There was nothing in the meeting about who was gonna write the letter. So it may not be happening. We may actually be able to help them.
So there may be an option to have
Like,
that
community
involved.
testimony for the budget is in May. So in terms of like getting the community to write their letters, if I remember correctly from last year, there was a window when you could start. It first needed a communication number, then you could reference blah, blah, blah. And then obviously there's an end deadline. So we're not actually ready yet because we don't have that
We're not ready for the
like
public to
budget
start.
communication number yet.
Yeah, we're not ready for them to start submitting formal testimony and sending in letters, but we can submit petitions and show up and talk and stuff like that. But we don't need to do the big formal campaign quite yet.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah, and we know that the budget hearing in front of council will be after our meeting in May. So we still have our meeting in the beginning of May. To finish up strategy.
Or it might be pretty close, so we might need to, we'll see. They haven't scheduled that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
13.
the purpose of this tonight is to make sure that we're all agreed on what the message is.
I'm good with it.
So we're,
does anyone have any opposition to this?
Still good?
Okay, great. Yeah, we're not attacking public housing, but we are tying the safety of the public housing to the road. That's important.
and non.
And of course you will then. I'm not doing that. Okay. Next item on our agenda, ongoing dialogue with the county and state. This specific thing that happened just today. So have we met since the Waimea Community Association meeting happened? We did, okay, that happened before the last meeting, so in the last meeting, we updated everyone, it did not go particularly well, we had a little bit of a disagreement with Director Sniffen. In public, and so we wanted to make amends for that, and we do appreciate the work that is happening, it's not enough, it's not the full solution, but it does make things safer, and it is a tangible move in the right direction. So we wanted to clear that up. So Bob and I drafted a letter to the governor. Thanking him for the work that is going on up at the north end with this emergency egress route and the bulldozing that's going down. And to be grateful for Director Sniffen's commitment to it, because it is impressive what he has done, and we do appreciate it. And we sent that out this morning.
But it also flags the housing growth
Yes.
issue.
Yes, it does.
And as the unresolved matter.
Yeah.
We need more
Yes.
help with.
Yes, and this letter, we printed out copies of it, I don't know if you've seen all of them, they're floating around here somewhere, we sent that out this morning. I sent it to the governor directly and his chief of staff and Director Sniffen. And within 5 minutes, I heard back from his chief of staff, Brooke, who thanked me for sending the letter, and then about 10 minutes later, I heard directly from the governor. Who said thank you for sending the letter, and that we need to remind our local legislators about how important this ask is.
That's what Governor Green said.
That is direct quote from the Governor Green. And so he,
We should reference that in this letter.
yeah, we should, that's a good point, I didn't think about that. But I immediately emailed it to Representative Tarnius, Senator Richards, and Councilmember Hustis. And so they know where the governor is at on this whole thing. So we're very happy about that, but yeah,
Yes.
very quickly.
Inviting our council member or Tarnis or Richards to our main meeting to sort of talk about the budget process
That's a good idea.
and just like attend and.
Yeah, we haven't had
update
guests in a
the community
while.
in that way.
Yeah, we could definitely invite
Yeah, I
them.
will work on inviting them.
For a future.
Especially since they've asked us to testify in the past on these issues and like asking the community to show up
Yeah.
when they need help, right? So. Choose.
Yeah, I think the letter to the governor is important.
Mhm.
We're gonna need more help with the council, because we're essentially setting up the council to tell the mayor it's how to get you home. And there's gonna be some resistance to that.
I've been watching council meetings. They're okay saying that. I've actually heard them say that.
I think you're right, but they
Not
also,
all, but
they also have to weigh carefully those situations where they want to take on the mayor. They can't do it all the time routinely,
yeah,
you know, as a perpetual conflict situation.
absolutely.
They've got to be careful of, you know, when they fall out of sports.
Mm.
And we want this to be one of those cases.
So we do have to be delicate with it. But I think they support us in general, and I think they get it. So
Yeah, and this whole
Yeah.
piece that I drafted was really taken from the feedback that we got at last year's council meeting when we testified. Because, you know, they all went around, there was only one council member who didn't speak. They all spoke otherwise. And their response to us was almost uniformly from the perspective of, you know, this doesn't make sense. We really should have infrastructure in place before development happens. So I took that basic theme and built it into this statement. So when they see this, they'll hear themselves.
Maybe we should quote themselves from last.
No,
year.
I don't wanna
Put it on
quote them.
record, yeah.
quoting them to them is a little tough.
No, yeah, that's a little much, but they will hear
Right.
themselves when they
Yeah.
read this.
Like, oh,
So-
it's a good idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're not challenging them to change their minds.
No, we're challenging them to step up to the plate and have the
Yes.
courage to take convictions.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
let's discuss the 2021 evacuation documents.
yes, so as a summary back up, real quick, back earlier in January. There was a meeting here, I think it was back in the banquet room, the other one over on the side with civil defense, and the county showed up. where they were talking about the upcoming traffic study, which is ongoing apparently right now. And someone from the audience asked if there were any after action reports from the 2021 evacuation. Tom Magno, our civil defense administrator, said, yeah, just have to request it. And so I did so. 2 weeks after that, he responded and said, okay, great, Matt, I'll get it to you. 2 weeks after that, he said, oh, sorry, I was mistaken. There is no after action report. And so I said, oh, well, in that case, I'm going to formally request every single document that is associated with this mono road evacuation, every shred of paper from both civil defense, Hawaii Police Department, Hawaii Fire Department, the State Department of Transportation, the IT Department, and the State Emergency Management Association. So I figured if one person isn't going to give me one thing, 6 different agencies are going to give me something. And that has started, but we have not gotten quite the response that we want. I have a paper here that has a summary that you can read exactly what all we have gotten from different agencies. And by far the most cooperative so far have been civil defense, county civil defense, and the county fire department, Hawaii Fire Department. The State Emergency Management Association, we've also been having an email conversation with them. They just have been really slammed with the Kona low that did happen before and the upcoming one. And so they're a little bit slower in responding to us and providing us the documents, but we are anticipating something from them in the next few days or week, hopefully at the latest. But civil defense has given us a bunch of maps and a few different documents that they submitted to FEMA for reimbursement after the thing. But HPD, the police department, literally only gave us one document that said that this is what the incident command system is. It was not related to the evacuation at all. I have formally appealed that response to the State Office of Information Practice. The Department of IT straight up said no, that they wouldn't give me anything. And I also appealed that to the State Office of Information Practice. HDOT at the state level, we are having a fight with them over fees. They're trying to charge us $2,000 for the response, whereas everyone else has waived that fee. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but by far the best responses that we have gotten have been from the Hawaii Fire Department. They gave us the full actual dispatch log of literally where every single fire truck and every single firefighter was sent out to. It's like literally 20 pages of just single line text that went into AI to be dealt with. We also got their after action report, which was held with a variety of different agencies. I'm actually printed out a copy of that. If anyone wants to read through the notes on that, that was probably the most interesting narrative document that we have gotten in relation to this whole thing so far. And we also got the chief's monthly report that he provided to all of the different agencies for August and September of 2021, which included quite a bit of general information about the whole thing. And so we've been sorting through it. And
what about the FEMA report that we didn't get?
So we did not get the actual FEMA report from the day of the fire. And we're hoping that we're going to get that from HIEMA. I've specifically requested exactly that from them. So we'll see, but we have not gotten that yet. But if we don't get that from HIEMA, we will be making a second UEPA request because there are a number of documents that have been referenced in various emails and text messages that are gaps and that we know the names of now. So we're going to go back and say, hey, these are the ones that we're missing if we don't get them from the other agencies very soon.
Or we can get it from FEMA.
Or we can get from FEMA directly. So that's the other one. We might go to the feds and see what they have to say. So we're going to make another series of document requests on this. We don't have it all, but I do have quite a bit at this point. And we have enough to make a bit of a narrative, not a complete one, but we do have decent information there. And one thing that reading it was fairly triggering. It was reliving the moments and the fear and everything. I had forgotten that Waikīkī had been evacuated the day before the village. The village was evacuated on the August 1st. Waikīkī was evacuated on July 31st. And the smoke was so thick up there that officers couldn't find the front doors of houses. They were going door to door and trying to bang on them, but they couldn't do it because they could not find the doors. And there was also a lot of confusion amongst the residents about where to go. I don't know if anyone's ever been up to see polo up there. There's a big like clubhouse building next to the polo field. Apparently quite a few residents gathered there at first, but then they were told that they had to leave. That was not a safe gathering spot. So I don't know, it was just interesting to read like other communities' direct firsthand experience that kind of mirrored our own. They obviously had less chaos just because there's fewer people up there, and they have 2 exits because they can go in either way on Old Saddle Road. But you know, it was a problem up there, and I've been saying this for months, but we really do need to reach out to Waikiki residents. If anyone knows anyone up there, please put them in contact with us. And I'm probably gonna just do some cold letters, emails and stuff like that, and we'll figure out a way to get all of them, but that's a group that needs to be engaged with heavily.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Like, we requested this because they evacuated Waikōloa Village, right? Like I was at that meeting in January, they evacuated thousands of people. And I think it came from a place of, okay, well, what did we learn? Right, like,
Right.
how do we move forward? Where are there gaps in how we do this? Because it's just a matter of time before we evacuate again, right? Like, let's be real. So, was that analysis found in anything you've seen so far?
In the after action report, they had a lot of suggestions about doing tabletop exercises and improving policies and stuff like that. I have not seen evidence that those have been followed up on, but I also don't feel comfortable declaring formally that that doesn't exist because I'm not in the departments. But those are things we can request and we can follow up on and we can find out more about. I also think that it's deeply unfortunate that Chief Todd gets that. That there is a massive amount of knowledge and institutional inertia that was lost with that. And the 21 fire happened in his 3rd month in office. Like he was fresh, brand new here. And yeah, I think that he grew up a lot in that event. And the department, I think, has been stepped back because of it. I think that intern chief Volpe is wonderful and he's great. But Chief Todd leaves a big shot. For sure.
I was gonna say, this wasn't like a response to our 2021 fire, but after the 2023, I remember we went to a talk story at the cafeteria, and I remember the deputy fire chief was the one speaking to us and was going through all of the changes that were made post Lahaina fire, which is that as soon as there's a red flag warning, they post fire trucks in specific places, and they let the volunteer fire, like he went through a whole slew of things that were enacted in the wake of Lahaina, but
In the wake of Lahaina,
where,
not in the wake
well,
of
yeah,
Waikōloa.
not our fire, but where that's
Yeah.
documented, I don't know outside of like this one meeting. That
It has like a fundamental breakdown in all of these agencies essentially put together their own report if they did, right? Like, let's be real, no one is enforcing them to be held accountable for it. And yet they have caused so much disruption to all of us, both in that moment, but like ongoing trauma, let's be real. So it just feels like there is a fundamental gap in the post-mortem effort when these things happen, and it's not a Waikōloa problem. This is like a county, a state problem, right? And I feel like this is another opportunity for Eustis, and if he comes May, I'll ask him this, I'm like, there needs to be someone that takes point on a postmortem, because the whole point of this is, what did we learn, right? Like,
Well,
how do we do
that's
better,
why the-
assuming we can go back to homes, right?
No,
Like,
totally,
right,
totally.
like,
That's why the Attorney General paid for a contractor to come in and do an incident
Yeah.
report for Lahaina.
yeah. and it's
Exactly
so
for that reason,
Right,
but she couldn't rely on anybody
There's no
in the
method.
state to do it.
Yeah.
and maybe that's the ask of, like, we hire a third-party agency every time there's a major catastrophic event. that
That's
happens.
supposedly what this evacuation study is supposed to do.
That's part of.
But they cut the knees out from underneath that, so.
But that's one of the reasons why we're asking for this data.
Yeah.
is to confront them with it.
Absolutely, 100%. So we're trying to do their job for them. It's really unfortunate, 100%. I hear you. And one of the things that if I were running this after action report meeting, it would not have at the very beginning that this is not a meeting in which we're assigning blame. Because we know who's at fault. We do. And like, I don't want to get out here and like start blasting and everything. We know what caused the fire. We do. And like, it's not okay for them to come out and say, hey, we're not gonna try and assign blame, because that means that we're not gonna try and solve the problem. Because we're all just gonna sit here and say, well, we all tried our best and pat ourselves on the back, and hey, communication can be better. They say that like 400 times a week also. Communication could be better, communication can be better. Of course it can be better, always can be better. What has been done to solve that? I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
To push back on one little thing, there is an organization that they are accountable to. It's FEMA. Because FEMA provides the funds to pay for all of those dozers and to pay for all of that overtime and all of those things. And they did have to submit paperwork and documents that explained what went down to FEMA. It's these ICS, Incident Command System forms. And we have a few of them. We don't have them all. And that's the question, is what are on those pages that we don't have, especially for August 1st.
Yeah, what went to FEMA that they haven't given us? Why?
And there's definitely some documents that went to FEMA because they got money back from FEMA and they wouldn't get them if they didn't. And this is a thing that you two can possibly do a little bit of work on, because connections.
It just rubs me the wrong way that they prioritize submitting receipts to FEMA to get paid versus answering questions in the community, right? Like,
I agree.
Well, you know, the chief did come last May and held his talk story session with all of us in school. And I quoted him in here.
Yeah.
Because his message I thought was pretty stunning. Yeah. He was not pulling any punches. He was very clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if you can't evacuate, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
That's basically what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that meeting. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah.
actually a fantastic segue, Bob.
Yes.
Another talk story with the Hawaii County Fire Department on April 18th at Waikōloa School Cafeteria at 10 in the morning. That's a Saturday at 10 a.m. And I went to the survey, I went to the page to try to figure out what's going on, and they said that they are developing a strategic plan to guide efforts over the next 3 to 5 years.
And
So
they're doing this at different places, not just Waikōloa. They're doing it at 4 or 5 across the island.
they're doing Waikōloa, Waimea, Hilo, Puna, and Kona.
but they're saying the mayor's also gonna be there. Did you see the?
Yeah.
So I will not miss an opportunity to speak to our mayor in Waikōloa Village about fire, and I hope that you all can join as well. So April 18th, that's 2 weekends from now.
Yeah,
At
that's
10 in the
right.
morning.
That's the Saturday after the seniors meeting, so that's something we definitely need to bring up.
Yes.
10 in the morning.
10 in the morning on a Saturday at the
Saturday,
school.
We can go.
And he'll be,
I can't go, but yes, other people can go.
and then they're doing the same one in Waimea that same day at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or I'm sorry, 3 o'clock in Waimea. So there's the Waikōloa one and a Waimea one.
Yeah, well, we need to get people here.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually do need to get people to show up,
Yes.
Yeah.
because I think that's the thing, they keep seeing the same faces, say the same things.
Well, that would be at CERT training, so he's not.
Well, it wasn't
available.
the same faces at the mayor's.
Yeah, the
meeting
mayor's figure, those.
Last March. I mean,
I wasn't in that room either.
there were more people showed up at that. We had one of our neighbors who we walked home with them afterwards. They'd lived here 25 years. And she said, I've never seen that many people in that cafeteria in all the years I've lived.
I'm gonna see if I can get the WVA to do an email blast to the community about it, just as an additional way to spread the word. I think that would be good. And I think that's our meeting.
That's okay.
Any
Yes, anyone have anything they want to talk
any
about?
questions?
Questions?
Question,
Yes, please.
has anyone heard about the status of the traffic study, when is that supposed to be done, and who is the report going to?
Those are great questions. So I assume the report's gonna go straight to civil defense first, because they're the lead agency. I don't know what their strategy is for releasing it publicly afterwards. They said at the meeting in January, what, it would be done by the fall, is that correct?
Well, they said, if I'm remembering right, my recollection was, they said they would have a draft by June.
Okay,
And that would be made available for public review and comment.
oh,
So,
June's not that far.
hopefully that's accurate, we'll see.
that's why they wanted everybody to give them feedback by March.
Well, we gave them feedback,
So that they could get a draft out by June.
so I did email them.
But that could all slip.
Yeah, I emailed the engineer directly, I emailed civil defense, all of these people, pretty serious language about how important it is to include modeling for a second road in that, and, they said they would consider it. Is what they said it more formally than that, but they told me to pound sand.
There's a survey for this as well, so any opportunity for a survey, this is for the fire department, but
Oh, the fire department meeting, there's a survey.
there's
yeah?
a survey associated with whatever this top story is that they're doing.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll fill
But
that out.
Murray, if we find out any more about that report, we'll let everybody know, of course.
Yeah.
What is the survey for that talks?
Oh,
about
this is for the,
2018?
it's on the agenda, it's for the Hawaii Fire Department. They just called it a top story, so I don't know. I don't know what a top story is. Q&A, feedback forum, are they sharing ideas, are they soliciting ideas only, I don't know. But that's I can't turn on the April 18th event.
And Matt, you had mentioned a while back that the new person who's the head of fire department, state was gonna come over here and
Yeah,
have a.
yeah, fire marshal Booth. She got food poisoning the day that she had it, it was very unfortunate, but she did express interest in coming back, and I did email her. I should see if she can come in May or June also, actually, now that I say that, because we ran into her at Chief Todd's funeral. And then I emailed and spoke with her on the phone several times after that, and I've been keeping her in the loop on all of these UIPA things and forwarding emails to her, so she knows what's up, but she's been absolutely slammed. It's just her, she's
Well,
the
she
only
doesn't
one in the
have-
office.
Yeah, she doesn't have any staff.
Apparently, she's hired one person now.
Oh, she has-
Yeah, she said she was working on one person, but yeah.
She's been, yeah.
Let's aim for Turner and Richards for May
Yeah,
and put both off to at least June, because I think it would be most helpful to have her come and speak with us after we have a draft of the evacuation report to comment.
oh, okay, that's fair.
Wait, not Houston in May, Tarnas and Richards only, or all three?
Well,
For all three,
yeah, I mean, if Houston wants to come, that's fine. We are always happy to see them.
always happy to have them, but if we could have like a local legislatures.
Okay.
If we got a county state brawl, that'd be exciting.
I'm selling tickets for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, anything else anyone has any questions about? Or wants to talk
Well,
about?
when we find out which day the finance committee will be holding hearings on either transportation, which should be public works
Planning would be better.
or planning. Next week, it's gonna be one of those 4 hearing days. We should try to get a carpool together.
Sure, it just depends on which day.
I know, but I mean, the question is, how do we organize that?
Are we sure they're in Gila? Versus Kona? That's my first question.
I don't,
Cause
Well-
if you guys just talked to them and they were in Gila, they go every other.
Yeah,
rotate it,
but it
which
was a
means-
committee
well, this is
meeting.
finance committee.
No, but they do Tuesday, Wednesday in both, in the same Hilo, and then.
Yeah,
the
but next
one
week is 4 consecutive days of hearings
see.
by just the
I see,
finance
okay.
committee.
Well, we can try to get a carpool going
I'm
regardless.
trying to figure something out,
Okay,
People are willing to come,
which totally depends on the
come and
day.
testify. The more people in person is.
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we want to testify at the final here, right?
In May,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Okay,
this time too.
okay.
I mean,
The more we're there, the more they
I mean, it's,
remember us.
it's to address your point that they need to be educated about what's going on here, and there's no better way to do that than live faces.
Keep them familiar with us.
Story.
And for context for people, how much shows up to these? Like, people don't actually go and testify, maybe a few.
Sometimes they do,
Sometimes
if it's a
they do,
hot,
for
it's a
control,
hot
like,
topic.
When we went, there was like 6 of us in the room. I think they were shocked. We all talked about the same thing, talked about this. And they were like, whoa.
They're
You
like,
guys
wow,
care about
thanks
this.
for coming.
Yeah.
We actually got thanked in
We
the
don't
hallway
wear
for coming. So,
Yeah.
Well, one of the council members said, you know, we had 83 written submissions of comments and
Yeah.
all of that. And someone said from the dais, we've never seen this many comments on any budget item ever. So
We
that
got
had an
money.
impact on it.
well, sort of.
Yeah, we got our money, but they won't let us spend it.
Yeah,
but-
exactly. That's it. They won't spend it. Okay, anything else or we're wrapped? Thank you, Michelle, Andrea, for coming and joining, and Jan, thank you all online, and we will see you all around. Aloha.